If you are an introvert, you have a huge advantage, particularly when it comes to persuasion and seduction. Now, this seems paradoxical. A lot of introverts secretly wish they were extroverts, but extroverts have a problem that introverts don't have. If you're an extrovert, you're always pushing your ideas out there. You're always pushing your personality out there. And that's fine for social situations where there's no persuasion involved. Everybody loves to be around an extrovert because they're the life of the party. If you're in a group of other people and one of the person is an extrovert, you don't really have to do anything. You just have to relax and enjoy the show. And so introverts see this and they think, I wish I was like that. But being an extrovert in a persuasive conversation leads to certain problems, because if you're in a persuasive conversation, you both have different intentions. And extroverts always have that extroverted energy where they push themselves into the other person. They push their ideas into the brain of the other person. And this can trigger the ego defense mechanism, because nobody on a deep level likes to be told what to do. So long as the extrovert is just talking about random things in a social situations, that's fine. But if you're in a one-on-one conversation with an extrovert, it can seem overwhelming, and this is when there's a lot of pushback from the non-extrovert. But if you're an introvert, you have a huge advantage, because as an introvert, you notice things that other people don't notice. You can read the room like other people can't. You can see changes in facial expressions that other people can't. You can notice changes in voice, tempo, and intonation that other people don't notice. You can read body language much better than extroverts. And this can make you a very, very effective persuader, so long as you use the right method. When it comes to persuasion, the idea of frame and frame control is important. If you're an extrovert, you're always pushing your frame on other people, which is fine in a social situation, but it can invoke an equal and opposite frame from the other person. And so when you think about frames, there's kind of 4 quadrants that make up a strong persuasive frame. There's an overt frame, which is what extroverts have, where everybody knows what their frame is, everybody knows what their intention is. But then there's a covert frame, where you have an intention, but you're willing to wait to let it happen slowly and subconsciously, and you're willing to let the other person take credit for the outcome. And as an introvert, it's much easier to apply a covert under the radar frame than an extroverted overt in your face frame. Then there's a couple more variables. There's a short-term frame and there's a long-term frame. If you're a salesperson and you need to pay the rent in 2 days and you haven't had a sale in a week, the person you're talking to right now is super, super important. So your frame is going to be right now during this conversation. On the other hand, if you're a salesperson and you have a long string of successes behind you and you have a reasonable expectation of a long string of successes in front of you, you're not really that concerned with the person you're talking to, so you can be outcome independent. This is similar to a seduction conversation. If you have a string of successes and a reasonable expectation of a string of successes in the future, both past and future, the current conversation is not going to matter that much. So you can just relax and enjoy yourself with a mindset of outcome independence. And having a mindset of outcome independence is extremely attractive. It's extremely compelling. So if you combine a covert frame with a long-term frame and an introverted personality type, you can be extremely persuasive, extremely effective. This is exactly what the persuasion sequence does. It's a series of questions. You don't need to push your frame onto anybody else. You don't need to be extroverted. You just need to relax and be your natural introverted self and just ask questions and let the other person become the extrovert. Let the other person become the extrovert and covertly, under the radar, subconsciously guide them to the outcome you want them to get to and allow them to take credit for that. This is why the persuasion sequence is so effective, but it's also why extroverts can't really use the persuasion sequence, because they need to always push themselves into the frame. They always need to be the one who takes credit for the outcome. But as an introvert, someone who is capable of playing the long game with a covert frame, you can be extremely effective with the persuasion sequence. And the persuasion sequence can be used in regular sales situations, social situations, seduction situations, with existing relationships, new relationships. It's extremely versatile. So if you're interested in learning more, check out the link on the screen. Maybe it will work for you, maybe not. But if you want to find out, check the link on the screen and we'll figure it out together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.